people, welcome to our tarot reading for the week of the 24th of March. I hope you're all well. I hope you've all had a really good week, and I hope you're looking forward to seeing what the cards have to tell us this week. Shall we have a look and see? Okay, so we have the Page of Swords. We have a court card here, which could be an aspect of ourselves. It could be somebody in our circle. Here we have the Eight of Swords, which is a minor arcana card, and then we have the Nine of Wands. Okay, well this is this is quite a provoking sort of combination. It's not looking, on the face of it, it doesn't look that great, but actually there is a lot of positivity in this reading, or at least there certainly can be. So let's look at, we're going here to the court card. I am thinking that this card here would be more of an aspect of ourselves, but you know, this is a reading for the collective, so it is really up to each individual to see how these cards resonate with you on an individual basis. So if we look at the Page of Swords, we're looking at a card that represents new ideas. It represents curiosity, but it also recommends a real sense of boldness as well. This card is very much about staying open-minded and curious, and it's about being courageous and unafraid to take risks. And that's really interesting, you know, particularly where this card is concerned, because we can see here, just by looking at the card, how closed this card is. But we will come to this one in a moment. So we'll move back and forth from them. So the Page of Swords, it does represent intelligence. It represents clear communication. And it's the card is will appear when you, maybe when you're starting a new journey, like a new learning journey. That could be a college course. It could be, it just could be a journey where you need to use your brains. Where you need to be analytical, perhaps, strategic. And so, you know, maybe you need to be, strategic and analytical in your approach to a particular situation. It also can indicate that you need to be more direct and clear in your communication to avoid misunderstandings. It's also about being honest and about standing up for yourself and asserting your needs. Well, that kind of, you know, sort of speaks for itself, really, doesn't it? So the Page of Swords can represent someone who would benefit more from being outdoors as well, like rather than being in front of a television or a computer. And that's because, you know, there's an awful lot going. The Page of Swords is, the sword suit is very much about what's happening in, you know, it's very much about what's happening in your mind, in your head. And it's a cerebral suit. And so there's an awful lot of mental energy going on here with the sword suit, and this is one of the reasons why it's a good idea to get out, to be able to go for a walk, just to clear your head, to clear these thoughts, you know, that are jumping all around in your head. So if you know, if you kind of look at the card itself here, if you look at some of the symbols, we have the birds in flight here, and this, you know, can represent how the mind is capable of perceiving challenges from an objective viewpoint, you know, like a bird's eye view of a situation, especially when you're searching for a solution. And if you can see here, the trees that are bent in the wind here, well, you know, this can indicate sort of chaotic thinking that needs to be harnessed. So, you know, your imagination is great for inspiration. It's great for coming up with solutions, but they do need to be focused to avoid confusion and fantasy, if you like. So this is why, you do really need to harness these thoughts. And this is in a way where lists can come into in the situation, to become more grounded in reality. You can make lists to evaluate, the choices that you might have for moving forward. And this sort of brings me to this the Eight of Swords here, because eights in tarot, as I've said many times before, represents strength. And the Eight of Swords, the type of strength that the Eight of Swords represents is about mental courage. And it's mental courage despite your doubts and despite, your restrictive beliefs. And especially the restrictive belief and doubts of your family and your friends and your colleagues. It does require great mental fortitude to have different ideas from everybody else, and to value your own personal beliefs, especially in the face of criticism or even disinterest. And, but that does involve having a plan and believing in that strategy to carve out your unique path in life. So here we are looking at a plan here. The Page of Swords is saying, we look at all these thoughts that are going around, and the Page of Swords is saying, be clear in your communication, make a list to evaluate your choices, if you like. And this is what we're talking about with the Eight of Swords. However, with this sword, this card is also showing, that brute force is no match for clear thinking. So we're looking at a person here that's blindfolded, and they're surrounded by swords, and these swords are rigidly placed down into the ground. And there's this sort of blindfold here. Now, this all suggests that this person is captured. This person is most certainly restricted. But if you look, the person, the bounds here, the bindings here, they're really quite loose. And so, she probably could get out of these binds. They're not as tight as one might expect. And what this is suggesting is, it's suggesting that the inflexible personal beliefs are likely to be self-limiting options. And the Eight of Swords strength it's not found in physical activity. It must be, this strength must be discovered within. So, your thoughts and the strategies and your personal beliefs that are all required to identify paths to freedom. Now, it's not easy to leave a job if that job is the issue here. And it's not easy to leave a marriage if the marriage is an issue here, or to stand up to an oppressor if that is the issue. None of these things are easy, but then, really there's so many things in life that are just not easy, and perhaps they're not meant to be easy, because it's when you face your challenges and overcome your challenges and create strategies, that this is where you gain your strength. This is where you find out who you are. If life were dead easy, it would be like, well, what would be the point, really? So it's kind of, life is about, it's about, making yourself better. It's stronger. It's about exploring. It's about discovering who you are. And these cards, all they are just, they're just symbols to guide you on your way. And when we look at this card here and the symbols that this card is showing us, it is saying, that it is time to look inwards. It's time to scrutinize the stories that it's time to scrutinize the stories that you're telling yourself, and that these stories are probably unlikely to occur in reality, because it's not uncommon to be always looking at the worst case scenario, to catastrophize things. And you might say things like, well, I have no choice, I have to stay in this job, or I have to stay in this marriage, or I have to accept this person's behavior. I have no choice. I've heard that so many times. And all I can say here is that maybe you do have a choice, but you just can't see it. Maybe you do have a choice. So the Eight of Swords is about your mental ability to find new solutions, mental clarity to find new solutions. And it's about, creating a change in your attitude, and that when you change your attitude, this can improve your awareness of opportunities, whereas circular thinking can limit, progress. And it's very often that we revert to circular thinking, because circular thinking is easy. It's really easy. Oh, that never worked before, so it's not going to work now. That's circular thinking. Oh, well, that happened before, so it's going to happen again. You really and truly, you need to have progressive thinking. You need to be able to think outside the box. You need to learn how to think outside of the box if you don't know how. If you're going somewhere, I was going to say, if you're going somewhere and you don't know the way, what would you do? You'd take a map out and you'd look at it. Well, nowadays you just go on SatNav, and but you don't sort of get into your car and think, oh, I have to drive to wherever and I don't know the way, so I'm getting straight back out of the car because I don't know how to get there. But you'd look it up. And this is the same way with your thinking. If you don't know how to change your circular thinking, then find out. And there are all sorts of ways to find out how to change your circular thinking. But this is very much, it is time to do that. It's time to reassess the assumptions that you've had, that, your maybe outdated beliefs and your outdated attitudes. And it could very well be that it goes back to this, I have no choice. I have to stay because of, just name whatever it is that you have to stay for. Step out of that and have a little think. I'm not saying I'm absolutely right. All I'm saying is explore. This card is about taking off those blindfolds. It's about opening your eyes. It's about going inwards to see really what is it inside that is stopping you from going down your own unique path. So if we look even here, these two cards together, we're looking at, this suggestion that you're feeling stuck or trapped. But the emphasis here is on the need for fresh ideas and for boldness. So, there's a suggestion here that the importance of staying curious and open-minded, especially in the challenging situations, that we always have the power to create new possibilities and to find a way forward. But you, first of all, have to go inwards and you have to open your eyes. That sounds a little bit like, a paradox, but, you can go inwards and open up your eyes, or maybe open up your eyes and go inwards. Now, this brings us to the Nine of Wands. And the Nine of Wands is about reflection. It's about reflection before final commitment. This is sort of the nines in tarot. And they do, the nine, all of these numbers, they vary depending on the particular suit. So the Nine of Wands here it's about reflection before the final commitment to a goal or a purpose. So you have this very weary person examining, past decisions, maybe past actions. It's they're looking back. And this is actually the first time in the one suit that someone looks back to the past, because normally with the wands, they tend to look forward. They tend to bound ahead because of excitement rather than absorb, the valuable lessons of past events. This is usually what one's people are like. But here you have this person looking back, and what they're doing is they're weighing up past success and failures before making a long-term commitment. And I'm kind of looking at these set of cards and thinking that there is a long-term commitment needed, just looking at the Eight of Swords, because the Eight of Swords is very much about feeling trapped, feeling very stuck. So something has to change. And a decision has to be made, like a long-term commitment type of decision. And what the Nine of Wands is saying is that it's very good to look back now and to see what is it that you need to learn from the past in order to be able to take that action and move forward. So, you might... if you are, say, in a job situation, you've been overlooked for a promotion. So it would be natural for you to reassess your career options or other job opportunities. You're looking back, you're looking, at your performance and looking at what's been happening in that situation. And maybe it's time to ship out here. And that could be the same for your, maybe if your marriage, just... if your partner has had an affair or done something and you are finding it very, very difficult to trust them, and you're needing to reassess that relationship to see, is there a way that you can go forward with trusting them again, or is it time to ship out? Maybe you've had a health diagnosis, and this again would be natural for you to look back on your past kind of maybe health decisions and, and see, well, what do I need to do differently? Or are you in a situation where your health going forward will depend on the decisions that you make now? And what could they be? That's really what this card is about. And it illustrates a time to stand up for yourself and to create boundaries, and to confront your own self-limiting attitudes and expectations. So they're quite well married in a way, these two cards, and so the Nine of Wands, it represents the sort of type of pride that you might take in the dignity of building your own world and building it with hard work. And so, even though things haven't come easy, you're quite a formidable person, because you've come through all the hard knocks, if you like, the school of hard knocks. And this has made you quite formidable. And the only opponents that are left are the ones within you. So this is where it's time to stand up to that shadow within you that's telling you that you aren't good enough, that you're not successful enough, that you're not thin enough, that you're not whatever enough. It's time to stop saying that. And time to start saying no. It's time to kind of to start saying no instead of yes. Maybe when people ask you to do things that you don't want to do or that are not in your best interest. So, if you find yourself as somebody that's, the type of person that would kind of say yes to something because you don't want to upset somebody, but it's not really good for you to do that, but you still do it because you don't want to upset somebody. That's where it's time to start saying no instead of yes. So it's a very interesting card. The card is telling you, this card is telling you that you have the strength and you have the resilience because you've been there. You have been there in other situations and you've come through. And this is really the last push that you need, you know, in order to make that change. The 9 comes before the 10. The 10 is at the end of an era. The 9 is just before that. So if you kind of look at the combination of these two cards here, you know, you're looking at perhaps a period of really intense struggle where you've been through very difficult times and now you're feeling vulnerable and you're feeling stuck. You're feeling helpless. But the 9 of Wands will brings a sense of resilience and strength and perseverance into the mix. This card is reminding you that you have what it takes to overcome the challenge that you're facing here. You've been through similar stuff and you've come through stronger. And the 9 of Wands is urging you to continue and to fight. Like, don't give up. Push forward. You're nearly there. And the 8 of Swords, it's just reminding you that your limitations, they're self-imposed and that it's time to confront your fears. You have the courage and the strength to break free. So really, this is great. If you look at the 9 of Wands and you look at the Page of Swords here, this here is telling you that it's time to use your strength and your resilience in a strategic and analytical way. That you're facing new challenges that require planning and clear commitment. So the combination signifies that it's time to let your guard down and to trust those people around you. You know who they are. And you have proven your resilience because you've been there. And it's now time to be open to new possibilities. When you get to this point, you've been here for a while. When you've been here for a while, you know, it's time to break free. So, but you need to be open to new possibilities and possibly new partnerships. That could be in your work, it could be a new partner in your life. You'll know yourself, whatever it is. But whatever it is time to assert yourself and to communicate your needs clearly. So you may need to have a very frank conversation with someone, or you may need to take a more direct approach than you're used to doing to a situation. But whatever it is that you need to do, you have the strength and you have the resilience and the intelligence, you know, to handle it. So guys, this is great. You know, on the face of it, it looks like, oh, this is a hard thing going on. And yes, it is a hard thing going on, but these cards are telling you, you got it. You know, you have it in the bag, you can go forward, and you know what to do. So I'm going to leave it at that for this week. And if this reading has resonated with you, please do leave me a comment below. You can subscribe to this channel to be notified for the next reading. And if you would like to know more, you can book a private reading with me. I always love to hear from you. And you'll find my email address in the description of the video. So guys, I'm going to love you and leave you and talk to you next week.